Hi everyone, my name is Sufel Barkat. I am with Arthur J. Gallagher as the Global Enterprise Leader, basically in charge of all of their HR systems and the technology around the human resource component of technology. I have been with Gallagher for about coming on 5 years now. And we, as Floyd mentioned, are here to talk about our automated test scripting with Tech. So we're an insurance-based company, brokerage and risk management services. We're in 33 countries, so we are a global company that works across multiple countries. And we decided actually 3-4 years ago, it's based on a strategic roadmap that I developed to kind of determine our direction, along with Oracle's strategy and their direction to go to the HCM cloud from our existing legacy system at that point, which was Oracle EPS for human resources specifically. We divvied up components into phases, and we went live with phase 1 last year, which included the core human resource component, benefits, compensation. Of course, employee self-service and managed self-service is also part of that phase 1 component. And the countries we rolled it out into were US, UK, and Canada. Australia and New Zealand is going to actually be part of phase 3, but phase 1 for the master record of human resources, all of these countries are already on core HR and compensation. So payroll, time and labor, absence, and performance, we kind of did a split. US, UK, Canada are up and live and running as of a month ago, and Australia and New Zealand will be following in phase 3. So at this point in time, after we did phase 1, which was done, as I mentioned, last year, we quickly realized, to Floyd's point, that there was regular updates and patching that comes from the Oracle perspective in the HCM cloud, as it is a software as a service model, which is a good thing and a bad thing, right? So the good thing is we get new features and functions automatically. The bad thing is that every quarter we have to prep the business to ensure that they are properly testing not only their business processes, but all the components that we had either enhanced, personalized, or changed in any manner. In a lot of cases, we hid some functionality. A lot of cases, we actually changed the flow of processes, and we made various things work a little differently, which I'm sure a lot of you would be planning on doing as well. And we try to stay as vanilla as possible. So we quickly realized that we needed a mechanism to test these on a regular basis. Initially, I think it was monthly for payroll users, which actually would have hit us in phase 2. But in phase 1, we were good to continue to be a quarterly update receiver from Oracle. We reviewed the different products out there. And we knew if with any of the testing products, and I think Floyd mentioned a few of those, there was a lot of manual effort and probably a test team that would be required from a resource perspective that I would have to hire on board to ensure that everything was working properly. And, of course, at the end of the day, the business would be signing off on anything we migrated to a production environment. So they would also have to be engaged. And with the window that we are given from Oracle, which Floyd mentioned is 2 weeks, between our non-production patching versus the production patch, we had to quickly turn things around. And as you know, business does not stop. It does not wait for anything. So they also had to figure out how to do the business side of it as well as the testing component of it. So we went out and looked for automated testing providers, because we did not want to bring in a testing tool and then have people that would be skilled in that component and be able to create the test scripts and test scenarios and then execute those with the appropriate test data every time, and then we would need pool of resources to do that. So with Tech, what we found was it was automated testing, and what they were able to bring to the table was creating those test scripts and test scenarios on our behalf based on our UAT scripts and our SOPs, which is components that we had developed throughout the project and throughout the migration to the cloud. So we didn't have any additional effort that we had to place as far as work was concerned. We provided them with all those documentations. They converted those based on the knowledge and skill set that they already had with the core vanilla components of these modules to go ahead and create, based on Gallagher specific scenarios that we had, SOPs and UAT scripts around. And we were able to convert the phase 1 components fairly quickly over to testing processes where we just provided a test data file, and they kind of ran those test scripts and provided us with the results after the patching was applied. So we had to come up with a standard process, which we worked out with Soneratech on exactly how we would do this on a go-forward basis and on how we would have a better impact on our reducing our business end user time as far as testing is concerned. So we tweaked and tuned that process, and then when we came to phase 2 and we added these additional modules, which were more critical in nature, we ensured that we made it as best as possible. So within a week right now, Soneratech can turn around running of those scripts and providing us with those results after the patch is applied. And then we turn it over to the business for the second week to do their own testing on those failed components only to ensure that they understand what's failing, why it's failing, and if it is an issue or concern, we then go back to Oracle with the appropriate escalations and changes that need to be made, or we make them ourselves depending on what kind of change has the issue, if it was a personalization or a process change where we hit something and we had to go back and hide it again. So that's kind of how we approached it, and it worked out really well. So if you look at what we did in phase 1, we did core HR benefits and compensation, and of course we went through that cycle already once for all of those components. We have run through at least 4 payrolls already since we went live in phase 2. The only component, so Soneratech's been trying to catch up since we went live with the different modules that we rolled out in phase 2, payroll, absence, and performance. Time and labor is the one that's remaining, and hopefully we'll have that one up and running shortly here. And we'll be able to run those test scripts in our next patching cycle. So that's what we're shooting for, is the next quarter patching cycle. Okay. So far so good. Everything's been working really well. And the benefits we've received, from performing this task is proactive change and impact analysis for quarterly patches. So we're getting ahead of the curve a little bit. We're looking and reviewing documentation provided by Oracle. We're looking at Soneratech to help us run those scripts as soon as possible when we get these patches in. So we have the results of that automation in our business hands as quickly as possible. The validation that we do happens within 3 to 5 days of applying the patch, right? So we get those results back pretty quickly. And it frees up our key personnel to focus on business critical tasks that they're actually, doing at that time. So they don't have to worry about spending too much time on this component with reduced amount of resources. So from my perspective as the HRIS lead, I need to ensure that we keep our costs down. So I don't want a whole, big team of testers around testing on behalf of the business or getting prepped for the business. So in this regard, it helped us save a lot of cost and efficiency from a resource perspective, as well as on the business side, it saved them a lot of time knowing that they could go in trusting that they have the right results to review, before the patching hits production. We've increased the test coverage, through automation, so we were able to do it in a timely manner and get this through the process. I'm telling you, the first time we had this quarterly patch applied in after phase 1, we were in full havoc mode. We were pushing back on Oracle to give us more time than the 2-3 weeks that they were giving us in the window, because there was no way we could test everything and get everything up and running and signed off before that production migration. So we actually, I think for the first couple of quarters, had Oracle push our production go-live date out, which is not recommended or not easily doable. Just so you know, it is a fairly difficult task to accomplish. But since we were in the implementation mode and we had proper senior executive sponsorship from Oracle, we were able to get some time frames in there until we actually were running with Tech properly with all of their automated scripts, and then we were able to take a sigh of relief and a breath of fresh air. We're now focusing more on adoption of new features and functionality. So throughout our business process, so once we go through the fails, of those test scripts, and we know what the issues are, then we go through, okay, what features and functions does the business want or to utilize and implement and or enable, and we go through those and spend a little bit more time in that week that we do have, kind of getting the low-hanging fruits up and running and changing our business processes where necessary.